is begin the recording.
Okay.
Just so you all know, before I begin these journeys, I go into a contemplation in the hue, and I do something like Scott Limriel calling Satnam or Trillian. I'm very respectful and polite. I invite them each and every time to do what they would do anyway, but it's all voluntary. So I always respectfully include their free will in being part of the journey. Trillian serving as a central focal point for the journeys. This guy's extremely evolved, way beyond human understanding. He's even more evolved than the Galactic Alliance people, and most of their worlds are paradisical compared to Earth. So Trillian's quite evolved, but he doesn't have a big head about himself, because most advanced beings don't. They don't have egos. They don't have subconscious minds. Their motivations are not like what motivates people on Earth. They don't deal with bodies, some of them. They don't deal with money, most of them. Political systems, belief systems are very different from Earth and much more experientially based. So it's very different. Some of this work introduces to people for the first time what they can't get anywhere else. Not because it isn't available, but they're afraid to access it. Something they don't know influences. It's easier for a person to stay in fear and seek the illusion of the security of a physical body because there is no security in it. You can't keep it. And so they will attach themselves to religious beliefs that makes them so they don't have to change. Someone else is going to save them, somebody else is going to do it for them, and then they think they're going to go to some heaven where some supreme being is going to let them free to go destroy the place with all the garbage they're carrying because they've learned nothing. No self-discipline. They haven't awakened their higher faculties to how to co-create with the source, which is what these journeys are really all about. Disclosure isn't just about revealing that extraterrestrials exist. Duh. Billions of worlds, billions of galaxies, and we're just one little planet. Earth is under treaty in certain ways with off-world races about why people don't know they're out there more directly. But it's also the governments, 35 of them, that have kept the lid on this since World War II ended. And that kind of suppression of truth is now underway in what we call disclosure. It's not about some government person. Well, it is, but at some point where, say, a president of the United States will sit up and talk to everybody on Earth and say, hey, we're working with these guys, and point them out. That isn't enough by itself. There's an energy that has to move through the planet's atmosphere to begin to suppress fear enough so most of the people, as scared as they'll be, will step forward and welcome other brothers and sisters from other worlds that are out there and live far differently than we do here. If that doesn't come about, Earth would, you can say goodbye to your life here. And that wouldn't be the first time on this planet. Many times civilizations have come and gone on this world in 65 million years, since the dinosaurs, the big ones, were made extinct. That history is missing from people. Their Galactic Alliance, their galactic history out beyond this world is missing from people or suppressed. Their awareness of the bodies they're running in other planes, suppressed. The awareness of their original mission to come to the lower worlds and return as conscious, trustworthy co-creators with the source, that was also suppressed. All of it is not destroyed. None of it's gone. It's just behind fear. That's it. So these journeys, telepathic means it is not psychic. It's a pure form of communication between us as Atmas and the masterful beings that I work with and who work with me to provide these journeys, which this kind of thing never existed before in the history of creation, as far as I can find, being done like this. It's unique, but it's unique because of what was uniquely created in those places above the void that is changing there, so this down here can change. We're meant to one day drop fear and all negative things anyway. They're not meant to be permanent. They were not created to be permanent. So that which is uplifting and beneficial has more power universally over all negative things anyway. But people on Earth are brainwashed, in a sense, to think of it the other way around, that the negative has more power or something. It's just an illusion between two forces, positive and negative, that split into two kinds of currents from one power. Once it comes below the void into the etheric, mental, causal, astral, where all emotion comes from in the physical worlds. It's a big universe. It's not just billions of galaxies out there you see through a Hubble Space Telescope. It's on levels in the physical universe. And then there's the astral plane. It's a big creation that's much bigger than what people can see. And they go, ooh, look at all the billions of galaxies. Well, guess what? It's on levels, 144 of them before you even get to the astral plane. So that's a lot. It isn't the kind of information and understanding that a human brain can handle. Not a human brain on Earth anyway. I don't think anybody can really handle that. Let me just mute the mics so we don't get interruption in the recording quality. And there we go. And you can always turn on your mic whenever you want. Okay. One of the reasons that any knowledge of life from other worlds was repressed by governments after World War II was twofold, really. Fear, government leaders' fear of the advanced nature of aliens, good and bad, and that any one of them could kick our ass in 5 minutes. They want to take this place over. Obviously, to everyone that has consciousness, there is no alien race out there that's been allowed to come here and take us over. Nobody's done so in 70 years. Not even a hint of an invasion. And that's because of who and what it is they are. There were certain races coming here that were of a tyrant nature, small number, allowed under treaty. And those elements have been removed from our solar system more than 25 years ago now, not by us, not by any government on this earth, classified or otherwise, in preparation of what is now underway. The omnipresent power, the first missing word in the Bible, is a sound. It's not a word, it's not a printed book, not even in my books. I can put hue, but the sound of the hue that we do, hue, sets up a vibration. It vibrates the cranium upward only. Experiment with this for yourself. Go Om, comes from the east, vibrates this area. That attaches to the mental plane. It's a very much higher plane than here, but it's not free. So when you hue, it connects to the one power out in space that's connected to the source itself. And that's beyond the void. The void is an energy barrier. It isn't the supreme being, because there isn't one. A supreme being. What, a supreme tyrant that rules over everybody, and if you don't believe in me and worship me, there goes the pitchfork in your ass and you're sent to hell. That's tyrant training of religious control of religious leaders created on this earth by tyrant leaders. And that whole way of doing things was not created on this planet. It was imported here in a history none of you remember yet. You're all capable of remembering it. Don't underestimate yourselves. Your human brain and body on Earth, no. You, once it's awake, yes. Because you've already known it. You carry it within you. As, well, I might as well go here. As that. Because that's really what we look like. An Atma, a theta, whatever you want to call it. It has structure and shape. And people on Earth don't teach this. They don't know it. They know terms for it, but they don't really understand it. It's not awake in them. This is what we are. This is what we've always been. Always. Never one of these. We've had billions of these. No big deal. This is not made of nuclear energy. Atomic energy is no molecules, no atoms, no DNA. It is made of the same energy that's out in space that appears black to people. who see a Space Hubble telescope printed image of galaxies. And those are composited images of the light you see with the physical eyes, ultraviolet, infrareds, X-ray, and all these other things composited together on a printed color image. You can see what the universe really looks like. The Atma sees it the way it is. For human eyes to see on Earth, the images have to be composited of frequencies that are beyond the limits of the speed of light. People have made that up on Earth because they based it on their physical eyes on Earth detecting the speed of light. There is no such limit. It does not take billions of years from light to reach the Earth. It's already continuously in contact with the Earth from other galaxies, other planets. It's all connected through the omnipresent hue, which is a white golden light that appears black to human eyes on Earth. That's divine spirit, but it doesn't call itself that. People on Earth do. People in other worlds refer to it as the one living power behind creation. They call the source, which is above the void, beyond it, as prime creator, or source, the ancient one, different terms from different people, but it doesn't refer to itself as the supreme being. There's no being there sitting on a throne ruling everything that looks like one of these. Please. These forms are genetic entities developed on other worlds billions of years ago, human and humanoid. Never evolved out of the primordial seas on this planet. No human race represented on Earth evolved here. Not one. You cannot have this many types of races in one atmosphere on one planet revolving around one sun with polar ice caps. Impossible. There's one energy field affecting the atmosphere of this planet. It doesn't evolve different humanoid races this way. Everybody on Earth was brought here at one time or another that evolved genetically and generationally into what you are now. And then you were stuffed in a body here with no memory. People on Earth tend to massage themselves, to make themselves feel better. You can't blame them. They tend to think of this as God's will. They made a contract to come here. And an archangel comes up to them and says, "Hi, how would you like to go back to Earth with no memory? And you can start over and get it right." You mean I won't have access to all the billions of lives of wisdom I've had as an Atma? No. How are you supposed to get it right if you're stuffed in a body on Earth? All you do is make more mistakes. It's quite impossible. Now, if someone came to me and said, how about if you go back to Earth as a conscious being running a body and you help carry out some mission, but you won't be stuffed in a body with no memory, then I'd do it. But not otherwise. Otherwise, we get back into the same trap. Beings that suggest such things like that when people lose their body and go out into the astral plane or somewhere are themselves misguided. Now, I don't make any disparaging things generally towards other religions or anything because I want the true sound, the omnipresent living hue to come into world religions, come into political people from behind the scenes, from inside outward, so that they can make better choices and let go of things which keep them from remembering who and what they are. We are Atmas. We're always going to be Atmas. We've never been one of these, not ever, never. But we know how to run them, don't we? You guys all know how to run one of these like your masters, but unconsciously. It's a complex process to run something as complex as this. Through the pineal gland, the center of the brain, the controlling gland through which you run this body. It has to have energy transmitted to it from you to even function, or it stops working. Isn't that interesting? How much people have been made. If you're repressing somebody, you want them to be able to run a body but have no ability to get out of it consciously or to remember anything. So the journeys like this are set up to help you. Let's say my job would be with Torelli and Satnam and all these other beings, to help you remember how to see locations and places you can no longer see on your own. Which doesn't mean you can't do it or you didn't know how to do it. It means it helps recover on the life you're living on Earth that never had this training growing up at all, in any way, shape, or form. This comes from outside the planet. What we are is an Atma, what some people call theta, others soul, has a structure and shape to it. And until we begin to remember that, you cannot have what's called self-realization. Consider it an awareness of what you have when you visit Satnam's realm above the void. Because then we begin to function like what we are without negative influence of any kind. We are above the worlds of positive and negative, time and space and matter. We go to those worlds that are called pure positive, where we all came from originally, all of us. It means, this is the shocking part for people on Earth certainly, it means that we originate in the source itself as individuals. And we had a hand in creating the lower worlds of time and space, and evil and good and the failed experiment that it is. And because it was set up as fixed and finished before we started playing in bodies down here, it cannot be altered. Which means to alter it so it works better, without subconscious minds, without implants, without fear, without negative nature. The lower worlds have to mirror the upper realities, which is the reason they were created, to expand on the creation itself on multiple levels. So we have bodies we're running, and the physical, you all know about that one, and the astral, where all emotion comes from the body you're running there that lives much longer than this one, from the causal, cause and effect, from the mental, instant thought manifests everywhere, and the etheric, which is more closely connected to link across the void to the upper realities. And yet many beings in the etheric plane, as advanced as they are, transparent bodies that live millions of years, are stuck there because they too don't want to leave. It looks like they don't want to leave what looks like a infinite paradise, but it's not the completed journey. So I make you aware of this only because you've already known it. To say it telepathically as being done here is not information. It's experience. And you won't forget it. This is important. The man and woman from the Galactic Alliance, and some of them are master teachers separate from the Galactic Alliance that work in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, that come there from different galaxies and different dimensions to go on these journeys with us. Because many of them are going on them now for the first time. Galactic Alliance representatives, as masterful as they are also beginning to return to the source. They're much quicker at it and more adept at it than we are, because they didn't grow up on a planet as backward brainwashed as Earth is. So they pick up on these things much more directly. The advanced world systems beyond Earth that travel the stars. The beings are aware of the omnipresent nature of the hue that is outer space. They know what it is. They don't pray to it. They co-creatively work with it. The energy in space which appears black, which isn't, is one huge powerhouse. And they channel it through their ships in order to traverse things faster than the limits man has made for himself at the speed of light, which there aren't any. So they don't have such limits in their thinking. As long as people think that way, they will never develop technology to go beyond the limits they've created for themselves. Unfortunately, what was done in this way was done to people on Earth. They didn't have a free will choice in this matter. They do now. When we plug ourselves into the omnipresent power itself, which is what we do when we step out in space with Turelian, we're not just plugging into the hue as it exists in the physical universe. You can't put any negative nature in it. You can't record negative things in that space. That energy does not mix. That energy supports universes and galaxies spinning on their axis. They float in it, just like that does. Floats in the same energy, like a planet. And we're able to move on it as the pure energy without the limitations of gravity, black holes, time and space. There's no limits to the speed of light. So what we can do, and Galactic Alliance people can do, who travel the stars in craft, they can also leave their bodies and go to this source too. They function, for now, as people who keep secondary and primary implants turned off so you can go on these journeys and get great benefit without the influence of fear. Then we go on secondary implant removal journeys, and eventually we come to looking into the primary implant. That's one that would kill your body if you tried to remove it on Earth. No one on Earth can remove it anyway. No one on Earth can remove secondary implants. I don't remove them. That's done by more advanced people than me who never grew up on this planet. And for them to do it, they have to leave their bodies too. Leave their body asleep on a ship. Their technology is much more advanced. They don't limit it to the physicalness of their reality because they have to work with that one power that is not physical. The one power supports and sustains everything, good or bad, unbiased, unprejudiced, just supports whatever we do to ourselves until we're so dumbed down we don't remember anything and we're on planet Earth. At which point, when the hue crosses our paths, there's only one place left to go. Onward and upward. Back home. So that's what this journey is about, in part. The first sound behind all creation is omnipresent. That just doesn't mean it's in the physical universe, all 144 parallel dimensions of it, or 144 parallel dimensions of the astral, causal, mental, or etheric. When we cross the void, the planes are different. The gradation between one-dimensional reality and another is so smooth you don't even know you've moved from one to the other. But the energy becomes more refined as we go upward. It's all pure positive. There's no opposites, no time and space, no planets, no moons, no suns, no stars. They aren't needed because we all carry the light that lights our way. Every object you find there is being manifested and supported by beings. It's like a training facilities in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. Or the Satnam's realm, which is just vast, has every type of animal and being represented there in that vast countryside. It's bigger than any planet. And people can go there and experience what it is to leave a physical body and be an eagle, or a dolphin, or a whale, or any other kind of human or humanoid or other race. And they can move out of that form and see what it's like to be human. This is how we begin to respect all life. It cannot take place in the lower worlds fully. You've got to go to a place where there's no negative nature influencing the experience. Because the real truth is, the definition for divine love is respect for all life. And we can't do that unless we know that life. A human body on earth and brain can't comprehend such diverse, omnipresent living things. But you, the Atma, can do it. Because you come from it, from the source. So I'll send out the hue to begin this process. And when I do it, I'm not the only one doing it. As a matter of fact, I think we'll wait till we're out in space and then I'll have you watch these other beings that work with us do it with us. So you know they're involved in this. Otherwise, I'm giving you information, and I don't want to do that. I want to give you information, but I don't want to give you the direct experience that gives you the knowing of the wisdom of the information you're getting. There is a difference, a big one. When people write things on Earth, whether it's science fiction or fantasy, Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or Harry Potter, whatever it is, none of the training they've had on this planet, none, in any institution or university teaches them how to imagine or see this stuff. So unconsciously, they get into a trance state called sleep, same as when they put their body to sleep at night, without realizing. They get so concentrated. As an author and a publisher, I know how this works. And they begin to see what they write about. They become scribes to document what they're experiencing. And they mix up some of their fears and aberrations with it, and you get distorted things as well. But they're really seeing something somewhere else. And then they think their brain, their own personality, their ego of this life is what's doing it. It's coming from their imagination and their brain. There's no such device in the human brain that can imagine anything. It's the Atma they are, unconsciously seeing this, and since they're so in touch with this body, they think it's coming from here. Then they copyright it and they claim it and they say it's theirs. Brilliant. But it's not. 5 million years ago, far, far away in another galaxy means exactly that. If I asked George Lucas, I don't want to use, well, I like his work, so let's get that straight first. But if I asked him if he knew where it came from, he couldn't tell me. So when you're conscious, when you're doing this stuff, when I wrote the Sayers Agenda book, I had to be experiencing everything in it to write it because it didn't exist here in this lifetime at all. Well, you can imagine how people would write and produce things on this planet if they were really awake. Every film, every book would be a channel of something that gives themselves back to themselves. It would be focused on making certain that no one ever gets a subconscious mind here. This is the way other worlds work. People are not allowed to accrue one on their worlds growing up. Their races prevent or keep anyone from being implanted, unless a tyrant captures them and does it just to control them, which happened to all of you and me. Don't get that wrong. We're all in this together. So imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful they are in your life. This can be anything or anyone, as long as when you close your eyes and see it, it makes you smile inside. You know, anything. It could be a daughter. It could be a bird, a waterfall, an ocean. The stars at night in the sky, a breath of fresh air, a beautiful scent of jasmine or gardenia. Anything. A baby's smile, a kitty playfully working on the ground. Anything like that. Well, that opens a doorway in the pineal gland in the center of the brain. People don't even know it's being done. So when the doorway opens, there's a link created between the brain and the center of your being as an Atma. And in this work, it becomes a conscious one. Doing it anyway, only now you have a guiding voice and beings from other worlds to help you. So remember this safely, free from fear. The man and woman, generally a couple assigned to you that are beside you now, from the Galactic Alliance in this case, keep your subconscious fears turned off. This is easy for them. And then we can go out of our bodies, which is done through daydreaming, which means it's the same thing as you imagining going to the ocean and your body follows, or going to the store, and then you get in the car and you go to the store. See, people on Earth are so focused on Earth, they never think outside the box or imagine outside the box, and they're afraid to do it. Or they're told demons will get them if they get out of their bodies. They never stop to reason consciously. Well, what happens when the body dies? Do demons get me then? You see my point? The Atma is not vulnerable to demons or negative beings. Bodies can be, if the being running it misdirects its choices and gets in the path of something where it makes them vulnerable, and they end up on Earth with no memory. You get this far down the scale as being on Earth running a body, there's only one way for us to go. And that's to recover who we are. And that's exactly what is taking place here. Imagine being near the ceiling. You are a spherical Atma, like the one you'd see behind my head. You're spherical, round. This is the same image of that is what the source itself looks like on a much larger scale. Even the kitty, Susan's house, knows this. They don't tell their dumb humans because humans don't listen to them. A dolphin could scream it, you wouldn't hear it. A lot of other species know this stuff, which makes them kind of cute and lovable and all that. But when you're hovering near the ceiling looking at your body, you look left and right and you realize there's a male and female Atma hovering beside you. Beside you, not over you, not dominating you, respectfully beside you. And then you realize that there is a body form that looks to be about 36. If you're a male, it's perfectly handsome, trim, perfectly nice Galactic Alliance uniform, whatever. If it's a female, beautiful, about 36, flawlessly beautiful, because this is the prototype image made of pure energy. It is not a nuclear or atomic body. It's not DNA. And it is how we reveal ourselves to each other, as Satnam does. When we're out in space, you'll see what he does. Tyrellian does the same thing. We do the same thing they do, but most people on Earth have forgotten that they're even able to do this. So these beings keep fear turned off in you for these journeys. You still have a primary implant, even I do. The difference is I know exactly what's in it. So it's conscious data. It's not subconscious misdirecting fear-based influence. That's the advantage of knowing what's in it. To remove a primary implant, your physical body for now would have to be taken off-world aboard a ship and protected to go through the process, or your body would be killed. So we can go on these journeys and sit in these chairs, these white leather-like chairs, and see what's in it. When you have the courage and the strength to look and see what really happened, then you can know it, and you'll be protected and safe in doing it. But until you do it, that primary implant can influence your decision-making on Earth. It's generally designed to misdirect you away from remembering who you are, period. When you look at your physical body, there's a huge field of energy around it with all the colors of the rainbow. It's a toroidal or zero-point electromagnetic field made of the hue. It's an energy field that you emanate from the Atma through the pineal gland, place around the body. Basically a protective barrier not to bump into other beings, and kill each other, neutralize each other off walking around on Earth. Unfortunately, people have certain implants in that field that match the ones that's in the field around the Atma, not in the Atma. You can't implant or control or put a being inside that. Doesn't go there. But it can be put in the field of energy around you through which you see the universe distorted, misdirected, fear-based. So this is what we work on becoming masters of. These beings beside you, they'll point upward. They'll ask you to close your eyes because that shuts off the connection to the physical universe in the atmosphere of Earth and opens the vision of the Atma to see into the universe itself beyond Earth. That's really how it works. Everybody does it, they just don't know they're doing it. When you close your eyes and put your body in the trance state called sleep at night, you're running on automatic when you leave. You go out of your body and go out and do something. But then you don't bring back the awareness of it simply because you're not trained from birth to do it. So those faculties remain dormant. These experiences help you recover the conscious use of such faculties. Now we're about ready to go on the journey, so people get relaxed. Actually, the journey's been going on since I started recording it. Remember, this is telepathic, so it's experiential. It's not just information. It's designed to help you remember the same thing I know that's already in you. Just needs to surface, that's all. And it needs to surface in a safe way. Beings like Tyrellian, who we're about to meet, and others, provide a safe environment for us to go on these journeys, or we wouldn't be able to do it. You find yourself at 10,000 feet in the upper atmosphere. Well, it's not upper, but it's pretty high up. And you're still got these two beings hovering beside you. And we're in a group, in a circle. I'm in the center of that circle. And I have a couple of beings beside me too. Shantial and Tonaltial and Dantiam and Lamtiam. They're Galactic Alliance personnel, also considered to be master teachers. Very advanced, many hundreds of years old. They have bodies, physical, on their worlds that look to be about 36 and haven't aged. Human. but not like humans on Earth. And then we find ourselves in space in a circle of beings standing around Ambassador Turellian. Ambassador Turellian is 18 feet tall. He's simply showing you a form he had once long ago. It's not a physical body. It's about 36, perfectly handsome, like a Greek god. Long blonde hair to his shoulders, big blue, clear eyes, larger than Earth human, slightly pointed ears like an elf. There's actually an image of him on my website in the books link when you look at the carousel of pictures of characters, if you want to know what he looks like. But here he's being described. What he's doing standing there with this beautiful Atma hovering above him is operating as a central focal point for the journey. Keeps us focused on things that can be productive, awakening, enlightening. The universe is big and it's easy to get sidetracked into all kinds of phenomena, which doesn't really help us. And this is about remembering who and what you are and why you exist, first and foremost. If you know why you exist out here in space, in the omnipresent hue, when you look around you is a white golden light everywhere. It has a deep rumbling sound like gentle thunder without lightning. Everywhere around you. It's a white golden light. It's not black to you out here. And planets and moons and suns and stars and galaxies and spaceships float in it, travel in it, just like we do as Atmas, made of it. Galaxies spin on their axes, as do planets and suns and moons, to stay balanced within the energy that supports them, just like we do. We move and have our being in this omnipresent living power. It is one power through all the multidimensional creation, through the void into the upper worlds. It's always been and will always be one living power. We are made out of, as individuals, the very same one power, identical to it, exactly identical, on a smaller scale, of course. Turellian's holding his two thumbs up. There's a white golden light around, a little brighter than what you'd see in space. And if you look above him, there's Eta and Din. They are Dren, silica-based beings from Oceania, a planet on the other side of the galaxy, where Master Opelum comes from, who's standing in the circle around us, further out in space, and Master Anu, towards Earth, who is stationed in a city called Agam Des, in a Himalayan-type mountain range, on Earth, in the third higher parallel dimension, where Earth is quite different. It has no polar ice caps. It has a live moon with an atmosphere and cities. It is very different from the world you're aware of. And we'll come back to that on our return journey. So get as still as you can and close your eyes and go with the journey so that you can get some benefit from it. The body needs to be in this trance state we call sleep. You do it every night, so your master's at it anyway. Except because of my voice, you stay aware, conscious. And this is what Turellian out here in space is doing. And Master Ramu, and Master Opelum, and Masters Eta and Din, and Master Light Sea, little Asian, former from China. This master who works in the etheric and in a certain pyramid structure in the Hue Expansionary Academy is here. And up above them, Satnam. Standing in space, higher up in space, with a vortex opening of golden white light turning clockwise. And that bypasses the lower dimensions of time and space and connects to the void, so we can go up to Satnam's realm. He's going to be a guide for us. He's going to lead the way. He's given us permission, which is required. He's like He's like the governor of the Atma plane above the void. First realm beyond the lower worlds. There's no negative nature there. Never has been. And things are changing there. start. So we'll go find out how things are changing there, why these journeys exist for the first time in this way. The sound around us begins to accelerate, this rumbling kind sound. It starts to become the single note of a flute very high up. You look around you and you see these 12 spaceships, 12 generally now, every time for these journeys, things are changing. 30 feet in diameter, pale blue antigravitical light around their blue-gray metallic hulls with 3 semi-spherical pods on the bottom. These are called scout craft. They patrol our solar system. They're stationed from a parent cylindrical mothership. It happens to be stationed in the ice rings that make up the rings that circle the gas giant Saturn. They're about 1.5 miles thick, made of frozen ice. Scientists on Earth know this today. Those rings aren't particles of dead planets. They're ice. So it stations itself in those rings. It is not detectable by radar or Earth's technology unless they want it to be. And that's there for our protection because Earth and the solar system is quarantined. It means there's a field of energy that's monitored around the entire system that doesn't allow people from Earth to travel among the stars. And other planets, maybe a few like the Moon and Mars. But they aren't allowed to travel beyond it yet because they're crazy. What do you think? Russia, China, the United States are going to compete over other people's worlds and territories when they go out and fight over property in space? No. That's never going to happen because space is already occupied by far more advanced races. And Earth people are going to have to suck it up and get used to this. The thing of it is, it's easier to accept this in our lives when we know we came from the stars and we're part of it. That is the reason the Galactic Alliance is getting involved in Earth, because we're all relatives and long-lost friends of many of them. It behooves them to recover that genius, that potential, bring it back into the fold of co-creating with that one energy out in space and higher. Now I'll begin the hue. And you're going to watch something change in that vortex above Satnam. I've described him many times, but he's like this 6 foot tall, bronze-skinned, bald-headed, yellow-eyed, golden-eyed, not yellow. He's got 2 gold bracelets on his upper arms, a little white tunic dress from his waist down to his bare ankles. He's strongly built, ripped, no shirt, just the way he is. He looks Indian, from India, but he's not. He's much more evolved than that. When you look above him, you see an even bigger sphere of light, an Atma. More layers to it than we have. And this is who he really is. The form he's showing you is an energy projection. Just like the one you show each other, about 36 and flawless. You can imagine what we would be like if we had conscious control over that energy projection and superimposed it over the body you have on Earth. Get it? The potentials are unlimited. For people to do that on Earth, everybody would have to go through it, or it'd be a shock. Governments would come and grab you up and take you out of society and inspect you to find out how you're doing it. galaxy of golden white light of a higher nature spinning down through this vortex above Satnam. Just look up in space, standing in a circle. You're an Atma, you're spherical. You've got a physical looking form right below it, which we show to each other, and you can see with eyes and ears in that body. Tactile sensation, but it is not a genetic body. It's not made of molecules. It has the perceptions that eventually got superimposed to run bodies like human on Earth and other worlds. But it is not. The body you have on Earth is not a prototype. It's a projection of what should have been like what you are out here. The only thing in the way of living this way is some kind of subconscious fear in one form or another. You can see this energy coming down through this vortex. And Satnam is pointing upward. Then he starts to move up into this opening. It's like an hourglass. It's golden white light, brighter than the hue in space below us, but the same intensity of light around Turellian's hands. Little spheres of light around his thumbs, with his thumbs up. We're going upward. Creates a field of energy around us like an oval sphere of transparent light that's made of a brighter hue than the one that's in the physical universe. It was brought here like a spaceship around us, but not a physical craft, a hue energy craft, manufactured, made up and mocked up and held in place by beings who know what they're doing. I contribute to this, part of it. It's my co-creative work with these beings. And then this ship of light around us moves up into this vortex following Turellian, or rather Satnam, upward. We go up inside this opening and we peer, the whole group of us, and several hundred master teachers around us in two concentric circles that are returning to the U Expansion Ray Academy with us from all over the lower universes of time and space. They go on these journeys now for their betterment and also for what they can do for the uplifting good of all life in their worlds when they return. When we come up inside this vortex, and as we're moving up it, we realize the whole bunch of us are like a sign of a button to a dinner plate, moving upward in this, being drawn upward by source energy itself, as this high note of a flute. And it's this sound that we're actually riding on. It doesn't come from the lower worlds at all. It is a direct link to bypass the lower worlds of time and space and maya, or illusion. Good and bad, right and wrong, positive and negative. We're moving up into a pure positive energy that comes from beyond the void. When we get up into the center of this narrowing part, we can see many levels of galaxies below us and outside of us, because this light around us is transparent. And you can see that this stuff passed below us, and more refined galaxies in the astral, causal, mental, and etheric. And then suddenly, we're out the other end of this vortex, this portal, this doorway. And we're looking down, and we can see all the way down through it, through the whole lower dimensions. We're still around Turellian, out in space, near planet Earth with its polar ice caps and barren moon, sun, billions of stars, just in the physical universe. And then it vanishes. We see around us a pale blue luminous light everywhere. No solid objects. You don't see any other beings there. It is a form of the first sound behind creation, the pure hue, which serves as a vast barrier between the lower realities of time and space and matter, cause and effect and all that, and the upper realities, which have always been a form of pure positive energy. No opposites, no time, no space, no worlds, no planets, no suns, no stars. Because as you realize, as we're in this pale blue light, we are luminous beings lighting it up even brighter than the pale blue light as we pass upward through it. And Satnam is even further up ahead of us. And then you begin to see way up there what looks like a point of light. And as he approaches it, and we're right behind him, it begins to expand into this luminous, white, sandy beach. There are these forest trees lining the back of this beach that goes as far left and right as you can see, and then curves inward as if it's a beach surrounding a huge floating circular landmass, which it is. But it's bigger than the lower universes combined. This is the first realm above the void. It is called the Atma plane. And Satnam comes from this plane, above the void. The void is not the Supreme Being. It is pure hue, pure sound, pure light, pure spirit, if you want to call it that. But you okay there, Renata? Yeah, keep with it. Takes a little self-discipline. And then we begin to land on this beach in our bare feet, wiggling your toes in this luminous white sand. It's glowing a foot above the beach itself. Trellian's standing offshore. It looks like he's standing up to his kneecaps in an ocean water, but it's not water. It's the void itself that surrounds below this landmass. We start to go into this realm of Satnam. We are moving out of the void and into the upper realities. So when you're wiggling your toes in it, you realize that when you pick up this sand in your hand, you can see that it's made of round, polished, diamond-like crystals, and they're glowing. It goes into your hand, comes up your feet. Just a few of them. Feels cooling and warm as it goes up your legs. Remember, these are not physical legs. These are a human-like projection of energy from the source of your being itself. It goes up through your smiling face and into the white core of your being, hovering above these body energy forms. And it makes you as an Atma brighter. It's a gift from Satnam. He's been recently giving these gifts out the last few months of these journeys. Kind of to help out a little bit. And then he levitates off the sand and starts to move up over the top of the jungle trees. And these trees are luminous fruit trees, exotic trees that are transparent. There's energy moving up and down in them. Everything here is conscious. The birds hovering above these trees, which come out to greet us, are about a foot long. They look like blue jays with long V-shaped split tails. And rainbow-colored feathers blended so subtly, just beautiful, big blue eyes. And they start singing in rows upon rows of male and female birds. But they aren't birds, as you know it. There is a beautiful Atma hovering above each one. And these body forms are not made of matter. They're made of energy of the Atma plane. And they have vocal cords, and they're singing, and they're talking to you and welcoming you here. They're singing the hue on multiple levels with perfect singing voices. This one sound begins to blend into one round whole, round flute-like tone. As we come over the top of the jungle trees and a group of people around Trellian, there's Satnam. He's coming down, and you can see in the distance a diagonal snow-capped mountain range. It's got blue stone and white snow-capped mountains. There's a palatial estate against the base of the mountain, made of transparent walls and towers. And Satnam is now pointing down. You look down, and you realize right below us is this 100-foot diameter white stone floor. And there is a fountain in the center of it. There's a fountain in the center of it. And Satnam is standing beside it, pointing to it as a statue of him. This isn't a testament to his ego. There's no ego here. There's no negative nature here. You can't bring it with you. You can't even bring it into the void. It stays with you back on earth. turned off with the sleeping body. That's the way this works. You're Atmas. You're not the body on earth. You have returned to the realm of Satnam, the Atma land. The original demarcation point we left long ago to explore lower worlds, play with bodies, get lost in Maya and illusion and all that kind of thing. The statue is standing in a blue circular disc in this white alabaster stone-like 15-foot wide fountain with scalloped edges and a white marble sitting seat that circles around it. And the statue has his palms open, facing downward, facing out, and there's a white shaft of golden light, golden and white, coming down through this fountain. It is a device, a doorway, and it's filling this fountain with what looks like luminous golden white water. It's pouring over the edges in an even glistening sheet and vanishing into the ground behind this white marble sitting seat. We're going to go up into that fountain of light, up into the shaft of light, and we're going to go visit the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. At some point, we may come back here and explore some of the Satnam's realm. It's very vast. Be exploring other territories in this realm, once you have access to know what part of it looks like, gives you the ability to respect much greater amount of light, much greater amount of the beings that exist in the creation. And we need to do that. You can hear the sound humming around you. It's higher than my vocal cords can make. It is a pure energy. We're made of the same thing. As a group of beings, we simply shrink and go into this shaft of light above this statue of Satnam, and we're shot upward at tremendous speed. When we come out the other side, we are thrown forward into a beautiful cobalt blue luminous light. It surrounds what appears to be a single massive floating circular landmass in the middle of this surrounding, apparently infinite field of cobalt blue light. You can look into the light and see a little bit of the gold white light of the hue coming from higher realities supporting it. In the distance, you can see in the middle of this huge floating landmass 6 snow-covered mountain peaks near the center, and then there's a big landmass surrounding it. The beach that surrounds this circumference of this land is a white sand as well, but a higher, brighter light. It looks like there's an ocean wave of blue-green water, luminous, curling to break on this beach that continues to revolve around the entire circumference. And it comes back and continues. It's like an energy field supporting this landmass. This is mocked up and manifested and sustained by beings. There are no worlds or planets or moons or suns or stars here. We all bring the light with us. The land, the mountains, the roadways, these white roadways that extend from the base of these 6 mountain peaks and go straight as an arrow to the beach like the spokes of a bicycle tire. That's all luminous. Everything is glowing here. There's no need for suns and moons and planets and stuff like that. When we're in this place, there is no negative nature at all brought with us. That's left turned off by these beings back with your body on earth for your benefit. So you can begin to remember what places look like this far removed from physical reality. Physical reality in the lower worlds of time and space is less real than the realities above the void. So consciousness is more expanded, much more expanded up here. When we're moving up above these mountain peaks, you look down on the center of it. And down at the base in between the 6 mountain peaks is a circular blue-green luminous lake that surrounds a white island. And coming out of the exterior circumference of this island is a blue glass-like tower It's transparent. It's very tall. 2/3 of the way up, it has an oval spherical administration center. And it comes up to a minaret point, almost as tall as the mountain peaks themselves. And we're going up into a fountain inside that oval administration area. Because it's a fountain, it doesn't have a statue of Satnam here. It has a more powerful, radiant white golden light coming down through the tower into this fountain, pouring around the scalloped edges, dropping down through the shaft of the tower, and going down through the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, and then down into the void, the Satnam's realm, the void, and then down all the way to Earth. It returns through the vortex that is the axis of the Milky Way galaxy. They are doorways. And returns up above here to the source, and it never stops moving. We find ourselves in a circle of beings with Turelian, hovering around this fountain. And we move up into this fountain, the shaft of white golden light, and we're shot upward again. In the next moment, we come out of an area that looks like a fiery red and orange and yellow light, green and blues just moving everywhere. Like gargoylean energies coming out and fading, going and just always moving. This is the raw power of eternity that a single being masters. He's much bigger than us. He's bigger than a silent mentor. Huge, big, beautiful ball of light. Many layers to it. He's approaching us. Turelian, we're still in a circle around him. This is Agam Purusha, and he's the being that runs this plane, and it is many planes above the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, far beyond the 6th plane, above the void. And in the distance you can see what is called the Tree of Life. There are 2 of these. One is here. It's a massive silver tree, like a fir tree. The branches are gigantic. The roots go down into the light and disappear. The top of the tree extends beyond vision. And in the center of the trunk, which is energy moving up and down. As we pass through the needles of these branches of this tree, we look into individual needles and see individual worlds represented in each one. Part of a branch might represent a galaxy. And so all of creation is located and accessible from different needles in this tree of life. We're moving into the trunk of the tree and we're shot upward. Where we're going is the ocean of sound and light itself, source or prime creator. We have to receive permission from this being, or we cannot pass through this raw power, safely or in any other way. I would befriend this being and ask to be his friend, because he'll be your friend if you ask. Don't put him on a pedestal. Don't worship him. Just respect him. That's all that's required of any of us. When we come out the other end of this vortex, we are now in a far brighter cobalt blue atmosphere. Like the color on the shirt I'm wearing, just fantastic. Backed by some brighter golden white light. And in the center of this vast void, it looks like a golden silvery galaxy revolving around a center. And it looks like at first they're individual stars, like stars in the 7 arms of the Milky Way galaxy, circling around this center, which is where galaxy patterns were created from, by the way. And we're moving through these apparent stars. There's so much space between them, the whole group of us can move between them. And then we recognize that these are individual Atmas, brighter and bigger than what we are coming here. And we're moving towards this void in the center of this core. And there's another white island there. Hovering above the center of it is this massive spherical, looks like an Atma, far more layers of teardrops, a white core, and we identify immediately with this and say, I am that. Because we are. We come from here. And then you recognize while you're here that you are one of the beings circling this center. You can't count the numbers here. It's beyond human imagination. And you realize you never left here, and that you were destined to return here while you were running bodies in the lower planes, and somehow you got sidetracked and you forgot to do this. And we approach this white island, and then we're a bunch of spherical beings, no physical form like your human perfect self, just the pure form. And then we move through the individual teardrops in this huge prime creator or source until we find ourselves floating in the middle of the white core of it, and we hear a voice. It's a male baritone voice, but it is a female voice too. It is a blending of consciousness. This is a pure positive place. There's no opposites, no positive and negative, no bodies. And it welcomes us home. It's a gracious welcome. And it just says to us, finally, you've returned. And then we leave here because we cannot stay here for long. It's too far removed from the bodies we're running on Earth, and they would perish if we stay here long. So we find ourselves now hovering back above the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, many dimensions below here. And we're looking at the 4 quadrants of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy with the surrounding white luminous beach. And in each quarter of a pie, you might say, these white roadways that exit horseshoe-shaped tunnels at the base of these 6 snow-covered mountain peaks go straight as an arrow to the ocean, and down each one of them, to the right and left, to the right and left, every so often is a clearing with a different type of building, a different type of training center. We're going down the third, what would be the northwestern quadrant, down the middle roadway, 2/3 of the way out towards the coast, and turning right into a clearing. And in that clearing are 12 trees. They look like giant eucalyptus trees with broad, luminous blue-green, spoon-shaped leaves. Standing above these 12 trees is a physical-looking human form, alternating male and female, with long hair of different colors to their shoulders, a different kind of single-colored gown on, representing different stations in like a lodge or something. They're actually representing certain energy rays of creation. Now this is stuff you guys once knew a very long time ago. The only way to recover it is to go back here and start bringing awareness of it back to your life on Earth. They're standing above these trees. Their face is a glowing, bright golden white light. You can't see facial features at all. But when you look into these faces, you see levels upon levels upon levels of galaxies. That's how they think. These are silent mentors. They are mechanics of creation. They hold everything in place. They do not have any interest in personal training of Atmas as a master teacher would, except here in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, because this place was created about 10 years ago, beginning Earth time, to provide a place where experimentation by us with others can bring about new ways of doing things that can actually change the lower worlds of time and space. And the way, for instance, retiring subconscious minds permanently, ending the old failed experiment of good and evil, has to be replaced with something to take its place. The Hue Expansion Ray is a new consciousness emanating from here that goes down into the universe one way, passes through the solar system where Earth is, and goes back to the core, the axis of the galaxy, and up that interdimensional doorway, back to source, and it never stops moving. It's moving right through us because we're a circle of beings around Turellian, and he's hovering in this golden shaft of white light coming from the source we just came from. It goes down into a 4-foot in diameter blue clear crystal sphere with a radiant cobalt blue star in the center of it, hovering above this 100-foot wide marble floor. These 12 trees with these beings standing around it surround us. Above the body forms they're showing us is a huge Atma, 4 times bigger than us and twice as many teardrops in each one. These are silent mentors. In this place, you can see an energy coming through them, moving through us, through Tyrellian, and up this shaft of light that connects to this blue star in this crystal sphere. And it's moving through us, up through Tyrellian, through the other way, back and forth. So we're getting an experience of what it's like to be a silent mentor. How they teach here, what they do is a mystery. But one thing we do know is that they are helping master teachers in this place to develop prototypes. Beings that have never existed before. A little bit of a blend of the freedom and unlimited power of a silent mentor and that of the heart of a master teacher. This is where this begins. And we find ourselves moving as a group down the western roadway, straight west from these mountains. The first turn to the left enters a clearing, and in this clearing is a grain silo, ivory-colored tower, and surrounded by beautiful botanical paradise. And we're going in through these blue glass circular doors inside this tower. In this tower is a blue disc-shaped like stage, about a foot thick, and 3 concentric circles of white stone flooring and white leather-like chairs, and there are beings, master teachers here, standing up, men and women, to greet us. And we find ourselves with Tyrellian standing 18 feet tall just outside this disc, and you find all of yourselves standing in a circle around on the disc, and up above you is what's called the Sword of Life. It is a massive golden hilted sword, a twin-edged blade with a blue luminous light around it. And our challenge in being here is to hold up this sword effortlessly. It would crush you instantly, the weight that it carries. But here, you have no negative nature. So each one of you find that there's a sword hovering above you. It's 10 times bigger than your body. And you're holding up a right finger. These beings are instructing you. And that bottom of the hilt of the sword is hovering an inch above your finger, and it pushes down on you. All you do is send the hue out and trust yourself and the source we just came from. And you find you're able to hold this sword up above your head easily, without effort. It's a 2-edged sword, meaning we must stay in the blade of consciousness and not be on one side or the other. That's opposites. That's what traps beings. And the sword moves down inside your physical looking form, right in the center of the Atma. And it becomes one with the spinal column of this energy form that's human. It isn't a physical body. It starts in the core of the white being, hovering above the body, and then goes into the pure form that you show to each other. Now this is a gift, obviously, from the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. It's permanent. It cannot be reversed. So you're going to find that it's a teacher and a protector and has great wisdom to share with us because it is a tool of Source, Prime Creator itself. Once it's in you, that's it. It's one way. So all of your billions of years and all the lives in the lower worlds, you've never had this in you. This is new. This is something that started happening about a year ago. Then we find ourselves hovering above planet Earth. But it's not the Earth you're used to seeing. This Earth is a world called Earth in the 3rd higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. It's operating at a 3rd higher parallel dimensional time rate. The molecules here are still of the physical universe, but of a higher parallel. This world has no polar ice caps. The moon that circles it turns on its axis. It has atmosphere and water and oceans and domed cities turning on its axis as it orbits the planet. The sun is still in the distance, and billions of stars out in the galaxy we call the Milky Way. But this is a Milky Way in the third higher level. And you can see 12 ships hovering around us, just as they were in the physical world where Earth is you're most familiar with, because they can move their craft between parallels. So the man and the woman are still with you. And you're looking down at this huge continent centered over the equator from the left to the right hemisphere. And down near the South Pole, about a third of the way above it, there is an upward curved Half Moon Bay glowing emerald green beach. At the top of this continent centered over the equator, about a third of the way below the North Pole, it curves down towards the Western Hemisphere. You can see through this planet because you're an Atma. And the other side is another continent, 2/3 its size, centered over the equator. This is a very different Earth than the one you know of. Master Opelum, who has been in the background on this journey so far, appears to take the lead to head us down into the atmosphere of this planet. We're heading towards that luminous emerald green beach. In the center of this massive continent is a huge mountain range like the Himalayas. And there's a city there in the center, protected, like Shambhala, Shangri-La, whatever you want to call it. But that isn't located in the Himalayas in the physical Earth. It's located in the Himalayas in a third higher parallel dimension above it. This is the structure and nature of the multiverse. You might as well get familiar with being used to seeing it. Otherwise, you can't get to any of it. When you see something, the omnipresent power takes us there. We don't have the power to manifest taking us there. It does. It's unbiased, unprejudiced. So we definitely want higher guidance so we don't make mistakes in where we choose to go and why. As we move through the atmosphere, you realize the water droplets in the atmosphere of this planet are glowing. H2O can store a great amount of the hue. Its nature is barely being explored on Earth today. There are many higher faculties and capabilities within water that people do not yet know about. As you come through the clouds, you see this green glowing beach we're approaching, a third of the way up from the southern pole. No polar ice caps. And you can see that the ocean, which is a pale blue-green, is luminous a foot above the calm waves. There's no turmoil and weather problems here. The few beings that work here don't pollute this place. Master teachers, Torellian, Sayrays, silent mentors, Galactic Alliance personnel come here to a city. So right now you look down and realize your feet are wiggling in this emerald green glowing sand. And some of it comes up your legs. Remember, this is a pure energy form that's your prototype. It comes through up through your smiling face into the white core of your being, the Atma you are, and it goes out to the green layer and starts turning on some of those teardrops. These are higher faculties you once knew about how to circumnavigate the whole multidimensional creation. This ability is in the Atma, not in your body and brain on Earth. So you want to bring more of that kind of enlightenment back to your life on Earth. That's what we're doing. You look inland to these huge jungle trees, and there's a brown moss-covered path that goes back as straight as an arrow, divided about 4 feet wide between these trees. In the distance, several miles inland to the right, is a single snow-capped mountain. And at the left, at the lower plateau, is a single clear dome covering a city. There are 3 four-sided, golden-sided quartz-capped pyramids in the back third, surrounding a long ivory-colored domed building, about a third their height. And a glowing, luminous kind of a blue-green lake, and a semicircular mountain range, small one in the background, that covers the back half of it. And there are little waterfalls coming out of cavern openings, and the water running down into this lake is glowing. It's charged with the hue. There are little white dome dwellings all throughout the countryside. And we're standing on a path inside that dome, looking at this mountain through it to the right. And Opellum is standing in front of us on this path. I call him Master, but Ambassador Torellian is standing off in this violet and emerald colored grass with a blue tinge to it, about a foot high, 18 feet tall. And there are these tall, weeping willow type trees with those broad spoon-shaped leaves glowing here. And these birds with the split V-shaped tails perched in the trees singing to us. These were brought here from Satnam's realm. There's no negative nature in this atmosphere. The actual air glows. The ocean around this planet glows. Earth's oceans are depleted. 8 billion unconscious people prevent it from being charged. On a normal world, water glows. People on Earth do not know anymore what a normal world's supposed to be like. If Earth's oceans were glowing, none of you would have a subconscious mind at all. Figure it out. To fix that, we have to be part of the solution, not adding to the problem. And Master Opellum is pointing to that ivory dome, and he tells you these are experimental laboratories of a type that very advanced master teachers, even silent menders, work together. So this planet, this place, is a prototype. And at one point, it will be superimposed over the dead moon and Earth that you have now to make it work properly, because the moon is broken. It does not function correctly. There are many things that have to be corrected about Earth now that were never possible before. This journey helps you to become part of the solution. Once you're aware of who you are, the omnipresent power of the Hue begins to not only recognize you differently, it begins to move through you for your benefit and on its way to the benefit of others. This is our true nature. It's what and who we really are. We find ourselves hovering in a group of beings up above this mountain. There's a waterfall cascading out of a cavern opening 2/3 of the way towards the summit. It's a blue-green luminous water coming down a sheer cliff face, drops thousands of feet and disappears in blue-green forest trees that circle the backside of this dome city. Eventually it empties into that glowing ocean. There is an oval opening like a cavern, man-made, above this waterfall cavern. There are little round dome lights that go down inside this opening. You can see a Galactic Alliance ship leave a blue disc-shaped landing pad outside this dome and fly up inside this opening. We're going to follow it. And as we move down in this circular spiral, in this tunnel in this mountain, it comes out inside of a hollowed out interior of Mount Shasta in Northern California. The Galactic Alliance base was built here in 1908. If it hadn't been here, we'd all be dead. There would be no life on this earth. So understand, not only we've not been alone, but it's these beings that have prevented us from destroying ourselves on this planet through fear and misdirection. Inside is a golden foot thick quartz-like floor. When you look up at the ceiling, it has concentric circles of dome-shaped lights, and the light in here is like bright sunlight in daylight. Up at the top of the center are these two half-spherical doors that open in the top of the caldera. To people that fly over, it just looks like snow. So it's holographically shielded. Ships can go in and out of here and nobody can even see them. Galactic Alliance personnel operate here. The commanders of the base are approaching us. We're now standing on the floor. They can see the pure energy forms, human we're showing them, and the Atmas we are. They have physical bodies here about 6 feet tall, the commanders of this base. And there are Atmas hovering above them. They know who they are. So they're greeting us to this Galactic Alliance base. You understand now that this base is connected through a certain kind of energy conduit that comes out in the third higher parallel dimension out of a cavern above a waterfall opening in a mountain. They're connected. It's a safe way for them to transverse between the Galactic Alliance base on Earth and this place where experimental research is being done. The experimental research being done there is duplicated from the research that's enacted in the Hugh Expansion Ray Academy and brought here. You're all part of that now. And we find ourselves hovering near the ceiling back on Earth where you live. The men and women are still there from the Galactic Alliance. The energy is moving down through this roof, the ceiling, from this experience. It's passing through the electromagnetic field, zero-point toroidal energy, the energy that surrounds your body. And it's moving out through you for your benefit and on its way to benefit others. It connects to 3 pyramids. They are not material matter. 2 are stationed at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans. 1 is stationed in a hollowed out interior of a mountain in the Himalayas. And they are devices, and they are turned on. The most classified militaries on Earth know they're there, but they can't do anything with them. Can't affect them. They can do nothing. They're pulsing out energy out through the atmosphere of Earth, and it's leaving the Earth and going to a larger pyramid stationed between 2 stable asteroids. The classified people know it's there. They can't do anything with it either. It passes through a fountain in that pyramid and goes out into space. And it connects to bigger pyramids appearing between stars. And then it goes to the galactic core, which is an interdimensional doorway, by the way. Manned by silent mentors. You've met them. And it's a shaft of white golden light. It's not black hole. That's just Earth eyes that can't see it, so it appears black. But it actually connects all the way back to the source where we just came from. And it never stops moving. So when we begin to return home and come back to Earth in this way, we begin to be part of the solution and no longer part of the problem. When you're ready, open your eyes. Now we'll bring this recording to a close so we can just chat.